I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. All right. Happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sab's podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. We are not going to keep our guests waiting. So really quick, we're going to kick things off with a panel here. Let me just fix my camera really quick. Okay. We're going to kick things off with a healthcare panel. Really quick, I do want to show you guys what we're discussing tonight. So we want to go ahead and dive in. Tonight's theme is the craziest week ever, because I feel like that's what it is. Tonight we are discussing, if you have not heard, Karine Jean-Pierre has announced that she has left the Democratic Party, and she also has a new book. She has quite a bit to say. We're going to get into that story. We're also going to discuss AOC has finally endorsed Zohran Mamdani. This is a big story here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll also get into a little bit of that debate between him and Andrew Cuomo. We're also discussing Trump's travel ban. Big news. Is any country mentioned that you may be familiar with? And I'll go through that list of countries and why I think they all have in common. We'll get into that. We're also going to discuss, this is I think the best news that I've seen this week. Greta Thunberg joins the Gaza aid boat, the Flotilla. Big story there. We'll get into that and connect that with that UN vote to veto that ceasefire. We're also going to discuss, of course, our guests are here to get started with the healthcare panel. That's why you see the picture there, Luigi Mangione. And if you have not heard this breaking news today, Donald Trump versus Elon Musk, it's crazy times, folks. I don't know what else to tell you, but it appears that the honeymoon period is over. So we will get into all of that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our guests, and I'll let everyone introduce themselves. Here we go. Hello.
Hi, Sabby.
Hello, everyone. Let's go around and let everyone introduce themselves. We'll start with JB. We'll just go in order.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is James Fauntleroy, also known as JB Font. I have my own channel called the JB Font Channel. I'm also co-host with Sabs on the Sabby and JB show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. And so you guys can catch us there. You guys probably saw us there a little bit earlier, but it's good to see all of you and good to see your smiling faces. It's good to be with you.
All right. Jordan.
Hey, Jordan Sheridan with Status Quo. We're an independent outlet that reports on the ground on a lot of stories mainstream media ignores, and happy to be here.
And Chanda.
I am Shanda Masta, and I am the Trailer Park Pundit. I am the trailer trash of independent media. You also might know me from a show called Beauty and the Boomer that I've been doing for about 5 years with my best friend and buddy, Oz the Boomer. Many of you know him from engineering a lot of these shows over the years. And I'm excited to be here and talk about healthcare. I had a recent diagnosis of small cell lung cancer that hit me out of the blue last year. And so on top of being a universal healthcare advocate for the last 10 years, now I'm battling my own battle. And boy, it looks different from the inside. I can tell you that.
Thank you all so much. So I want to get started with this. A number of things that we've discussed before on the show is the healthcare industry in this country. This was reported October 21st, 2024 by Cornell University. Healthcare Insights, How Medical Debt is Crushing 100 Million Americans. And I just want to dive into this chart right about here. According to the CFPB, 100 million Americans owe 220 billion in medical debt. So that is where we are in this particular country. And it's really sad. And I think I want to get started with Chanda, if you can talk about your story with
Wow.
what you've gone through so far, especially trying to pay for treatment.
Yeah, so I am so fortunate. I live in Washington State. We've had an incredible push because of amazing activists like Shama Sawant on the ground over the last 15 years. And boy, I would have been in deep, deep trouble had we not had a state-funded healthcare. You know, we have the whole Washington ballot initiative that we've been pushing on the ground. Ballot initiatives are so, so important to this fight across the country. My cost of treatment so far in the last 8 months has been over $500,000. And I just had immunotherapy done this morning, which is an infusion that goes into the port that they put into my chest. And each bag of that costs $1,500. And I'm on the low tier one. There's another one called Keytruda that costs $35,000 a treatment, and you don't even know how much of the treatment you're getting. So I talk to nurses all the time, you know, because they learn I'm a universal healthcare advocate, and they tell me horror stories of people that have had to go through divorces, even though they've been married for 35 years. So that way one can go on state assistance and one can keep the house, and people who lose everything because of the medical debt. And what's really infuriating is the way that our billing system is set up in the United States. I mean, things are priced so differently from insurance company to insurance company to a private pay, they just make up prices. So, I mean, who knows what I actually would have been paying if I would have been paying out of pocket versus what the state is paying. And that is a major problem when it comes to our broken healthcare system.
Yes, and Chanda, you also had a GoFundMe as well, right?
I did. And this amazing independent community on the progressive left, or whatever the heck we call ourselves nowadays, had lifted me up and carried me for the last 8 months. I mean, they've always been so supportive of my career and what I do, what all of us do. But when I got sick, they just came in, and I didn't have to worry about my bills getting paid. I didn't have to worry about getting medications. Like the viewers, all of our viewers, they have carried me, and I thank everybody. But Americans shouldn't have to depend on GoFundMe's when they get sick, with the amount of money that so many of us pay for our insurance premiums every month.
JB, you've had your own recent healthcare situation. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's been a wild year. So back in February, I actually came down with a severe staph infection. In fact, that was the day before Jordan was actually supposed to come on my channel to actually have a conversation. And so thank you, Jordan, for being so patient with me, by the way. But, of course, I had that. I was in the hospital for 17 days following that. And then after that, then I was on antibiotics for a few weeks. And once the antibiotics were finished, then I was able to get fully listed on the kidney transplant list, because I've been trying to get on the kidney transplant list. I've been on dialysis for almost 18 years. And so then I was on the list for only a mere 3 weeks before I got the call to get my kidney. And so I was able to get my kidney, my brand new kidney, on April 12th of this year. So I basically 7 weeks ago, I've been able to have a kidney transplant. With that, Chandra, trust me, I understand, especially about having a port inside the chest. because I had a perm catheter for dialysis in my chest right before I got my kidney
Exactly.
transplant. So I know exactly what it's like. As far as, you know, the expenses, when it comes to the expenses, thankfully, there was a system in place for those of us who have ESRD, which is end-stage renal disease, also known as chronic kidney failure, that we get fast-tracked into having Medicare and as well as disability insurance, disability benefits. The thing, though, is that with Medicare only pays 80%. The other 20%, you either have to get picked up or you have to have a supplemental secondary insurance. For me, it was state insurance, which is Medicaid, in order to pick up the rest. Unfortunately, I still, even on top of that, had medical bills that I had to actually pay. So, in fact, dialysis, this is my final dialysis bill from 2024 to 2025. In total, before insurance, I owed $152,055.44. And, you know, after all the insurances and things like that, I still owe $11,213.55. So that's just from dialysis from 1 year. Now, times that by 17. First of all. Also, I just got this text message today from the hospital. It says, hello from Avon Health. You have a final notice statement of $1,767.77. Please review and take action to avoid being sent to collection. So I have that as well. So the thing is that, and on top of it, I just found out over the weekend that they actually cut my disability benefits in half. So right now, I am actually suffering right now because my disability benefits have been cut in half. Not only that, my mother's her Social Security retirement also been cut in half for this month. And so,
which is not enough to live on. Let's be honest. I just got on, I fast tracked, and it's under $1,000 a month. And then if I GoFundMe too much, I could get kicked off. So I'm like, how do I pay these bills? How do I pay for meds? I caught 22 right here. Catch 22. You've got to be too.
Yeah. And so that's, you know, I have a spot fund, but to help with the transplant expenses, but, you know, going back and forth to Tampa, having to afford the medications that I'm on like 8 different medications right now. And so it is a huge undertaking on top of trying to get better and get healthy because I'm on immunosuppressive medication that I'll be on for the rest of my life. And so I'm not going to be able to stop that medication. So what do? It's either do that and have to, you know, crowdfund, or I'm going to have to just let it go, lose my kidney, and end up back on dialysis again. And so it's like they put that in before you, and when in fact we could have a universal healthcare system that actually, so you don't have to worry about it. You still they keep the system in place that, you know, you still have to suffer.
That's right. And JB, you've had to have GoFundMe before as well. Yeah. So this is something I've been noticing over the past couple of years. I see GoFundMe requests for medical expenses on X, Facebook, Instagram, all over social media. And that just tells you how expensive our healthcare system is. I want to bring Jordan in here to tie in the Luigi Mangione factor. Jordan, you've been covering the Luigi case very well. Like you've been covering this more than anyone, I think. And you were there outside the courthouse. And I want you to tell everybody, like, what is the general reception from the public, the people who are there outside of that trial?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I'll just add before I get to Luigi, when I'm on the ground all over the country, like basically the last 10 years, there's a lot of people I interview that, you know, off camera, we talk and I find out about their economic struggles. Top thing they tell me about is their healthcare bills. Number one, more of it anything else. So this is not something that just started for sure. Yeah, I think the Luigi Mangione case is very obviously not about this one man, which the media wants to make it about him and make it seem like it's some cult or, you know, fan club. But what's been remarkable to me is interviewing folks out there. I've interviewed doctors who are out there outside the courthouse when he's appearing, nurses. I've interviewed healthcare advocates, even some local politicians. And I've interviewed a lot of people who themselves or very close family members have been in situations like both JB and Chanda. One person was crying, telling me their father just died because United Healthcare delayed treatment. That was outside the courthouse. So I think that the Luigi case, you're seeing it and hearing it in person, the comments online, just kind of like all of this angst and anger and desperation is completely boiling over really on both sides. It's been the one story I've covered probably in a decade where it's the left, it's the right, libertarians, no labels, everyone kind of agrees. I remember actually when this story started brewing, Ben Shapiro, was talking smack about Luigi and blah, blah, blah. And his audience was turning on him, which was very interesting. So it's been pretty pleasantly surprising seeing the outpouring. Not, you don't have to support what he allegedly did or not. Obviously, everybody has different feelings on that. But everyone I have met out there is just outraged at this system. I think Shonda put it best. They're just making up numbers, and these health insurance, it's a scam. It's always been a scam. And I think that's what you're really seeing. The victims of that scam are kind of roaring back now.
And it seems like to me where they make a lot of their money is from treatment, not necessarily trying to find a cure. And I want to pivot to you, Shanda, as well. This is something I have noticed. I don't think there's anyone watching or any of us, like obviously here, that doesn't know someone that has been diagnosed with cancer at some point. And this is another question I have as well. I felt like when I was a kid, we didn't see as many children that had cancer. Now I feel like it's more often we hear about that now. So it's been very clear to me for years. I feel like they're not really trying to cure this disease. They want to treat it and they make a big profit off of it, right? Through that treatment. Chandra, if you don't mind discussing what have some of the expenses, like just looking at like your EOBs, what have some of the expenses been like? Because I had a classmate that went through chemotherapy and she said after insurance paid, she still had to pay $1,600 a week.
Yeah. So, I was at the cancer center this morning. You spend a lot of time at the cancer center when you get diagnosed. You go from a normal life, I had some swollen feet, and next thing I know, boom, you got cancer and you're going to chemo. You're going to do 4 rounds, which is 3 infusions each rounds. Each one of those bags is costing, thousands and thousands of dollars. And then I did 33 radiation treatments. So that was a whole nother avenue. My radiation cost $200,000. And I did it all the months leading into Christmas. I finished 2 days before Christmas. Of course, many of you remember me with my long blonde hair. And now, of course, I finally have some hair. I was bald at Christmas time. But I was sitting there this morning at the cancer center, and I'm in a really good spot now. And most people don't come back from the type of cancer that I have. There's a couple of cancers out there that kill you really fast. And pancreatic cancer is one of them. Small cell is another. And so it was a devastating diagnosis when I got it last August. And I just got mad and I was like, no, fuck this. I'm going to fight, you don't get to come take my life away. I'm young. And so being an independent journalist, I just started researching, because I had 2 different approaches coming at me. Holistic, better. Don't trust big pharma. Everybody we know behind the scenes is like, what are you doing? Don't be doing chemo. Don't be doing radiation. Go to Mexico, get stem cell, So you just have all this information coming at you and you're like, okay, what is the best thing for me, where I'm at and what I need? And what I found is it's kind of a combination of both. Is what's working best for me. The people in medicine, the doctors who go to school for, 10 years, they are there with good hearts and good intentions. They want to treat people. They want to heal people. That's what they got into it for. But then they're constantly battling the monster of big pharma that is big pharma and petroleum-based pharmaceuticals. Because let's face it, that's what these are. They're petroleum-based pharmaceuticals. And, so you got to do your research. And it's so hard for like the elderly, because I live in a retirement community and I watch these people over, I'd say 55 to 60. And I'm just looking cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching at the dollar bills that are going into the cancer center. And it just blows my mind at the money that they're making for all of these people who have to come back 3 times a week for the next 3 years, and every time they walk through that door, it's $200 to $1,500. And so it's a for-profit driven system. And until we make it more of a treatment incentive and people start to understand, medicine has changed so rapidly, I'd say since the 50s, when a lot of us were young, it's the 70s, right? None of us questioned vaccines or anything like that because we didn't see it so much as profit driven motive, but that's all it is now. And that's, what we see. But I like I said, I had to find that balance in there because there are good people in medicine that are really trying to help people. And it sucks. You got to do your research. So I'm kind of doing a mix, I'm doing the ones you're not allowed to say on YouTube, you know which ones I'm talking about. And then of course I'm taking, but the mainstream doctors, they don't want you talking about or taking those. So it's such a crazy, bizarre place to be in healthcare wise. You got to advocate for yourself is the biggest thing I learned since I got sick.
That's a really good point that you mentioned there. Advocate for yourself, because JB, I know, you and I have talked about this, oftentimes. I know like what your medical journey has been like. One of the things that you brought to my attention is that there are people that are on dialysis that never get a kidney. They never get a donor. And I don't know how long someone can be on dialysis, but the reality is if you don't have health insurance, but let's say, maybe you have Medicaid and that's helping you out with dialysis a little bit, there's still the transportation. And I know you've talked about like how they would come and pick you up and take you to get your appointments and things like that. But dialysis also like can make people feel very fatigued. And so because of that, one of the things that you couldn't do, like you couldn't do both, like you couldn't have dialysis 3 times a week and also have a job because it makes you very fatigued. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I did try to work for a couple of years while I was on that. Well, more than a couple of years. I tried to, but the problem is that in order to be able to make enough, I had to work 4 days a week and I went to dialysis 3 days a week. So being on dialysis is like having a job. Because dialysis is basically your entire circulatory system, hemodialysis, your entire circulatory system goes through the machine, goes through the filter multiple times within a period of 3 to 4 hours or a little bit more than that. And so that's exhausting. And by exhausting, I'm not meaning just a regular tired after a day of work. I'm talking about extreme exhaustion to the point where you can barely keep your head up. I'm talking about extreme exhaustion to the point where it is hard for you to even chew food. That's even exhausting. That's how exhausting it can be. To the point where your blood pressure is dropping and you need to lay down. Not even sitting will bring you relief. And so that on top of having to work all the days that you have off of dialysis, and it got to a point where my body started to say, hey, you can't do this, to the point where I would be at work and I would have this excruciating pain on my side. And by the time I get home, the pain goes away because I'm relaxing. And so that on top of the money that you have to pay for co-pays to get to and from where you need to go. And it's not just to and from dialysis, mind you. It's also money you have to pay just to get to and from your vascular surgeon or your interventional radiology appointments, right? You also have to go see your cardiologist. You have to go see your primary care doctor. You also have to sometimes, if you have a dialysis access and it's not working, you have to go to the hospital. And if you go to the hospital, here's the thing. You are guaranteed to be admitted, which means that you may have 3 to 5 days in the hospital. It's even if your access just isn't working. And so it's all that encompassing. So it's very time inclusive for you to be on dialysis, and you basically feel tethered to a dialysis center. Even when it comes to traveling, like I would have to go to a dialysis center within an area in order to be able to just travel. And if I can't find a dialysis center, I can't go. Or I would have to make sure that I can be able to afford to get there, because if I have to go, well, I don't have a regular job. I have to crowdfund to be able to go somewhere. So that's what happened with my grandmother died. I had to crowdfund to be able to go to my grandmother's funeral. Or when I tried to go to this event in Seattle, Washington. I was trying to crowdfund so that I could be able to go there until I caught that infection. And so, the expenses on top of that, plus your diet has to be a certain way, which means you have to eat a certain way, which means there's certain things you can't eat. All these things encompassing, it can be a very stressful thing.
Jordan, two things. You recently, well, not so recently anymore, but you became a dad. And one of the things I've heard from people is the delivery bill that people receive from the hospital, which I've heard is crazy, at least in this country. When you think about that, like what you're going through, what it was like becoming a parent, and just the healthcare system along with that, and then on top of all those claims that like United Healthcare denied for people across the country, how do you feel about that?
I just want to. I'm bad at answering your questions because I want to add something to what he said, but I've never had cancer or dialysis, thank God, but I had I've had 2 back surgeries, and one of them I couldn't walk for several weeks before surgery. And I remember when I was at Standing Rock in 2016, I was popping Percocets like crazy, just to go, because I had a disc that was on my nerve, and the disc broke off, and I could barely work. And I just was taking painkillers to keep going, because I didn't want to say at the time, the Young Turks, hey, I gotta go home, because I was very passionate about the story, et cetera, et cetera. So I think a lot people don't realize, and we know about OxyContin and the opioid crisis. So many people beyond cancer or dialysis or liver have chronic pain. I mean, I've covered the auto industry a lot. 9 out of 10 of those workers have chronic back pain or knee pain or this and that, and are popping pills because you can't take time off from work. And to go with what Shonda said, I told one of the Native Americans there that I was in pain. She told me, come in my tent. She starts putting all these giving me herbs and natural stuff. It was like a magic pill.
A kratom advocate for many years. I was an opiate addict, and I've hosted a show called To Hell and Back with Craig Pastor-Jardula. And and we could go for an hour and a half, Sabs, talking about big pharma and the racket they've got going with addicting everybody and then putting everybody on medically assisted treatment programs with the new medications that they've got out. So they got everybody hooked on opiates. We saw the Purdue family, the Sacklers, and then now they've got all these Suboxone and, all of these other meds. Yeah, Jordan, I totally agree with you. We could totally tear that apart for hours.
Long story short, 3 days of herbs and this natural oil. I threw out the Percocet and my back was doing a lot better. So point is, not for everything. I mean, some things you need, more, I guess, Western medicine, but there's a lot of things you can do natural medicine, Eastern, indigenous. There's no money in that for big pharma. But to answer your question, it's not just the hospital bill. Like if you have to go for an emergency before you give birth, my wife had to go twice to the doctor for some close calls while she was pregnant. That's $1,000 a pop each visit with health insurance. And then the delivery bill we just got was like $6,000 with health insurance. It's like, why do you have health insurance if this is what's going to cost? Then you add for people, I know Trump says he's the father of IVF, whatever that means. If you need assistance in this country to get pregnant, I mean, you could go bankrupt just trying to get pregnant. So it's extremely expensive. And then after the fact, you have to, I have 2 kids now, so health insurance becomes more expensive the more kids you have, routine doctor's visits. It's very, very expensive. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is on top of the physical toll for all this, the mental health toll. I mean, I talk to people all the time that I interview this and that have physical issues that desperately want therapy or something like that. They can't afford it because therapy these days are, a good therapist. If you luck, a lot of them don't take insurance anymore. And maybe for a 50-minute session, like $150 to $200. So it's really it's not a broken system. I don't like when people call it that because it's working as intended for the elites. It's an immoral system. And Mangione, for example, there's been different reporting, but he was denied several times for back surgery. The doctor said he was too young, whatever the fact. My opinion, I think they didn't think there was much money in it for his back surgery. And I've spoken with doctors outside the courthouse. They're telling me nurses, physicians' assistants, and doctors are leaving the industry in droves because they're spending more time on the phone with insurance companies, submitting paperwork than they are with patients.
Yep.
So it shouldn't be this way. And if we had a country that was truly egalitarian and was invested in like the whole population, it actually would be better for the economy to have universal health care because people get preemptive care, whether it's mammograms, MRIs, etc. So you avoid getting deathly sick, which is more expensive the more care you need. You avoid cancer if you can or whatever it is, so you could keep working, which is all the capitalists care about. I mean, other countries that have universal healthcare systems have more productive economies because their citizenry is generally healthier.
What do you think of, like, Jordan, when you were in Flint, for example, do you think if you had to guess a percentage, what percentage would you guess of people in Flint that you at least spoke to had some type of health insurance?
It went up because after the water crisis, they got a short-term Medicaid expansion, but that was only for 21 and under because the government pretended it was only kids that were poisoned. So if you were over 21, you were kind of SOL. 21 and under, you got a Medicaid expansion, but that ended probably after 3 years. So the percentage of people that have health insurance there, 60% maybe, and most of that's Medicaid. And I would tell you, if you think it's bad now, it's going to get a lot worse because this artificial intelligence boogeyman, which is already starting to lay off jobs, because our healthcare is tied to our employment for the most part. If you lose your job, then you're going to rely on Medicaid, but now they're trying to gut Medicaid. So you're kind of like, they're coming after your jobs and they're coming after your Medicaid.
Yeah, I'm opening up the panel to this one. This is another part that's kind of crazy, at least in this country. The fact that our health insurance is tied to our employer, and then you don't even get to choose like which healthcare, policy that you have, whatever they have, that's what you get. And to me, it's just like, to Jordan's point, if you lose your job, there goes that. Now, some would say, well, that's what Obamacare is for. But I've spoken to people that gave Obamacare a chance and they said it was even more expensive. So it shouldn't even have to be that way. Like, people shouldn't have to be, stressed in between jobs trying to figure out, oh, I need to go to the doctor, but I'm going to have to put that on hold because I don't have health insurance yet because I haven't started my new job. It's just, it's really, I don't know. I just think it's really insane. When you think about Luigi Mangione, what I've been kind of screaming into the void is like, this is what happens when people keep asking the system to change and nothing changes. I feel like it leads to that point. And I want to go to Shanda there?
So I used to be, I used to go to my capital, and I've worked on a lot of ballot initiatives on healthcare. And here's the thing: these committees that we take these bills in front of as everyday Americans, working class Americans, they are paid off by the insurance companies. They are paid off by the big pharma companies. So the people that we have elected and we expect to do what's right and what's best and what the majority of the people want are taking huge payoffs. I mean, so we can get the bill to the floor. We can't get it out of committee. We can't get it to the floor because so and so is taking $330,000 from one of the big insurance companies, and that is what is really stopping us from changing it at the lowest levels. I know so many of you all agree with me when you got to go to the lowest level. You got to go home. You got to start in your own community to change these things. And ballot initiatives, if you live in a ballot initiative state, that I swear that's the only hope we have for actually changing it at the lowest levels. Right now, I think Workers Strike Back, which I'm a member of, which is Shama Swan's group, they are doing a rallying cry to bring back the fight for universal health care. And they're looking at Seattle and how do we do that? How do we fund it? And how do we get it to the people instead of more of a state blanket? Let's go even smaller than that, right? And so we'll just look at the district of Seattle. Well, let's start out by taxing the rich for one, and going around these committees with bills that we're trying to get to the Congress floors, the Senate floors, at the state levels. Forget the national level. What a freaking joke that is. How many times have I been out on a rally in Washington, D.C.? I've flown across the country to be out there, and 300 of us show up, and we have people like AOC who say they're going to fight for us, but then, sorry, we saw what a disaster force the vote was. What a joke that was. Nobody who we have supported over all these years, election-wise, got out there and even fought for it, including Mr. Bernie Sanders, which, come on, he's just a disgrace when it comes to that nowadays. So Shama, and the Workers Strike Back group, they're saying, okay, let's go after the rich just in this area and get a health trust, and we'll just give it to people in here and see if we can roll it out. So I guess now, because I started out like, okay, let's fight nationally. Okay, let's fight statewide. And now I'm like, okay, well, let's fight for the county and see if we can just get this one county covered and get them healthcare and then move to a bigger picture. Because I don't see us getting it we can't get around these slimy politicians who are taking these huge payouts. How do we get around it?
To Shanda's point, Libby, Montana has it. You don't hear much about them. They're very quiet about it. They don't want a lot of people to know. But that is one way to look at getting that accomplished. It's just crazy. I pass it to you, JB, and then I want to wrap up with Jordan because I know Jordan has a hard stop. It's just crazy that, like, again, in 2025, we don't have healthcare for everybody in this country. And you can literally, Canada's like right there, and they
I can see it literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the crazy part is we're only a few miles from Cuba, right? And they have universal healthcare. There was a story that I had.
Really good healthcare too.
Yeah. Cancer curing healthcare.
Top notch. But there was a story that I actually covered a few weeks ago. In fact, I put it into your inbox, Sabs. But there's a story about Darren Wells. He was a man with stage 4 lung cancer who was first approved for the experimental double lung transplant to be done in Chicago when he was at USC. And then as soon as he was about to get on the plane to be able to flown to Chicago for the double lung transplant, Cigna denied his care. And so they said, absolutely not. And so, when it comes to, and this is a father of 4, right? And the problem is that a lot of times when people talk about, oh, well, people, they enjoy choice. They like their health insurance. No, they don't.
Yeah.
Who in the world likes their health insurance? Do any of you like your car insurance? Do you like that you have to pay the car insurance? Do you like the fact you have to do that? No. It's something just to make sure that if in case something happens to you, you actually, I put it like this. It's basically like if I have $1,000, if I have a band, right, of $1,000, and so it's like, okay, I'm giving you to hold this for me just in case something happens. Then something happens to me. Then I come back to you and go, hey, that $1,000 I gave to you, can you please give it to the doctor so I can get care? And then that person goes, let me think about it. I don't think all that's necessary. We'll give you 300 of it. Or we don't think it's necessary at all. We're going to keep the entire 1,000. And then they run off with your money. This is what it is. Health insurance is a scam. Private health insurance is a scam. They will take your money and they will run away with it and then leave you to die, or leave your mama or your daddy or your brother or your sister or your kids to die. And that's the problem. And people will say, oh, well, do you like your health insurance? That's complete and utter BS. The thing is, and then they go, well, we need choice. Choice in what? Because they all are, in league with each other in order to make sure to keep the prices up anyway. So what choice is there that you actually have? The real choice is really being able to choose whatever hospital I go to, choose whatever doctor I can go to, right? Because I want to go to whichever that I can without having to worry about if I can't afford it or not. Because just like in the movie John Q, what did John Q say? Yeah. Sick, help, sick, help. And I think that's how it should always be.
And I want to wrap with you, Jordan. What message would you give to everybody, just like, especially based on the things you've seen with like Luigi Mangione? Because I don't think the media expected the response that they received from a lot of people. I think they thought that more people would be on their side and condemning Luigi Mangione. And I noticed like once they realized more people were like cheering this on or supporting him, they kind of stopped talking about it.
Well, it's interesting. One of the court appearances, I think it was in March, CNN's reporter, he's their extremism reporter. He's British. He was out at the courthouse where I was, and I heard him interviewing folks, and his entire framing that all he was asking was, do you support murder? Et cetera, et cetera. And then I saw CNN added those interviews into their Extremism in America documentary. So they added Luigi supporters as extremists.
So extreme, yeah. Because
they don't want to actually, they're not going to actually ask them, do you have any personal health care stories? Because they got great health insurance. I would say, to me, the Luigi story is really about the outrage and really the breaking point people have with capitalism. And I feel like JFK, paraphrasing, he said, when you make peaceful resistance impossible, violent revolution is inevitable. And I really feel like, in my heart, do I want violence? No. But I feel like what I've been seeing, I mean, I've been going around the country, starting with the Bernie wave in 2016 all the way to now. And it just feels like we're at a tipping point. And I feel like people can only be beaten up so much until they snap, whether it's what Luigi allegedly did or what other people are doing. I mean, a new number just came out. 60% of Americans don't have the income to afford a minimal quality of life. I would say that's an undercount. I think it's way higher than 60%. You now need $114,000 annual income to afford a medium priced home. So at a certain point, people have protested, people have voted, people have knocked on doors, people have given their money, mutual aid, tenants union. If all the entry points that you tell people you're supposed to do for democracy are not changing anything, that's going to lead to violence. I hate to say it, but I do see that is where things are going, particularly if we have this dystopian hellscape of AI replacing jobs.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Everyone, thank you so much for your time. Can you please let everyone know where they can find you before you head out? We'll actually go back to you, Jordan, because I know you have a hard stop.
Yeah, check us out at Status Quo. We're on YouTube, Substack. We're live on Sundays now at 1 o'clock Eastern. And yeah, we covering protests, strikes, union drives, as much as we can on the ground.
All right. Shanda.
You can find my YouTube channels. I have multiple channels. Beauty and the Boomer on Saturday nights, 7 p.m. East or Pacific Standard Time, and Trailer Park London. I go live every Monday morning at 9:45, right after Heartlands Media.
All right, and of course, JB.
Of course, you guys can find me on the JB Font channel here on YouTube. You guys can also find me on Revolutionary Blackout Network with your own queen of independent media, Sabby Sabs. So you guys can find me there, as well as I also have my Substack and all my socials there as well. Yeah, so thank you so very much for having me on, Sabs.
Yeah,
it was a
thanks
pleasure
for the invite,
to see you and Jordan.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, healthcare panel discussion. Hope you appreciated that. Make sure if you're not following any of them, to follow them and check out the work that is being done. I am having a crazy hair day today because it was a little humid air earlier, but I'm just going to go with the damn thing. Tonight's theme, ladies and gentlemen, is craziest week ever, because this week is crazy. When you get to these stories, it's crazy, man. We're going to get into all of this tonight, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, if you haven't done so, smash the like button. Thank you. If you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. Let's go ahead and give a shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Let's do the damn thing. Thank you to everyone who's a Sabby patron. If you're interested in being a patron, I have 5 categories: Ultimate, Sabinators. Don't forget about the Sabsters. Don't forget about them. Of course, there are also Sabbies. Not sure if everybody is aware. Don't forget about those guys. And we also have a group called Members. Thank you guys so much for your support. All of their names are listed here, and you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen there on the ticker. I also want to give a shout out to new Sabby patrons. Let's give it up for Jerry High and Sean Rockers. Sean Rockers sounds like the name of a band. Sean Rockers. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you, fam. All right. Based. Let's go to some of the comments and then we'll dive into the stories. We actually have, again, we have 5 news stories to cover because I do want to get into that Trump Elon Musk debacle that happened today. Oh my God. It's crazy. Again, like I said, the bromance is over. Let's go to some of the comments here. Thank you, Mark. Demand number 4, in the effing wars. That's right. Thank you, Mark. What's up, Charlie Mack? Thank you. Say Sabby, JB, and Shanda gonna be fire. Much love. Thank you, Chuck. Israel is a made-up racist state. Make Israel Palestine again. Free Palestine. Can I say that on YouTube? Apparently so, because you got that through. Shout out to Chuck. Thank you, Roger. I thought you were going to have Luigi on. Not sure how I could do that. He's in prison. I don't think Luigi can do interviews given the security of his case. Thank you for this as well. Streaming live from the pen. No. I don't think anyone's allowed to interview him. Thank you, Cynthia. Sabby Sabs, thank you so much for standing on Black business and supporting reparations for FBAs. Of course, you know this, Cynthia. Shout out to Miss KC, who's been a member for 2 months. As a cancer survivor, I really appreciate this conversation. The U.S. doesn't have health care. We have citizen-funded for-profit sickness maintenance. I agree. And congratulations on, you're a cancer survivor, so you've been through it. Thank you, Marlon. The lobbies of for-profit medical are standing in the way of single-payer medical. Maybe we should advocate for Congress and the Senate to have to pay for coverage out of pocket and watch how fast course correction happens. You know what? I agree. Or if they had like our healthcare, right? Because they have like excellent healthcare. Thank you, Freedom Ring. Stop scapegoating insurers for not paying 100% of obscenely inflated bills. Culprits equal providers. No facts being cited. Differentiate between hospitals, primary care, RX, and imaging. The worst culprit. I think the point is we should have healthcare for everybody in this country. Thank you, Charlie. JB is the best dressed man on the internet. Kate Mack. Yeah, he is. Thank you, Marlon. Stay strong, Shanda and JB. Marlon's been a member for 4 months. And thank you, Fly. Very much appreciated that panel, Sabby. You are welcome. Again, tonight's theme is this is the craziest week ever, but we are actually starting here with something that is positive and very appreciative, I think. So we've talked before on the show about what happens when the government refuses to help the people, what happens when the government is not doing their just due. And obviously, we can look at Gaza and we can see what's happening there. And it's very, very obvious that the U.S. government is complicit in this. They want this to happen. Just the other day, there was another vote in the UN Security Council, and the United States decided to once again be the lone hand raiser to not have a ceasefire in Gaza. Now, I know it's easy to look at that and to get upset and frustrated, but there is some hope. And I think at this point in time, this is when you really have to look to the activists. And one activist in particular, Greta Thunberg, who's a climate activist, who's also sees what's happening in Gaza and says this is a humanitarian issue. She has decided to sail on the Flotilla, which is a Gaza aid ship. This is one of those boats where people are volunteering their time and they're trying to get aid to people in Gaza, where Israel is not allowing that to happen, or they're letting a truck come in, and as soon as people go towards the truck, they're shooting the people. This is not something that Greta has to do. If Greta wanted to, she could just continue her climate activism. Honestly, like, she received a lot of, I think, press for her speeches with climate coverage and all those things. If she wanted to, she could have just rode on that and just faded into the sunset and made a lot of money. She doesn't have to do this. So the fact that she decided to volunteer to get out there and to get food and aid and supplies to people in Gaza, I think that speaks volumes. And we're going to go ahead and show you this clip here. Very, very proud of her.
In southern Italy, a ship has set sail for Gaza with several activists on board, including Greta Thunberg. The vessel, operated by an international nonprofit organization, is attempting to bring aid and awareness to the growing humanitarian crisis. This is the organization's second attempt to reach Gaza. Another vessel was hit by 2 drones in early May.
A month after our latest attempt to go on with this mission, the boat was bombed twice. All evidence suggests Israel, and we are doing this because we have to keep our promise to the Palestinians to do everything in our power to protest against the genocide and to try to open up a humanitarian corridor. And we are doing this because no matter what odds we are against, we have to keep trying. Because the moment we stop trying is when we lose our humanity. And no matter how dangerous this mission is, it is nowhere near as dangerous as the silence of the entire world in the face of a live-stream genocide.
Very nervous about what the IDF and the Tel Aviv regime will do when they arrive. This boat contains equipment that the Israelis will not allow into Gaza: crutches, baby formula, painkillers, antibiotics. We don't want any harm to come to these people. This is a humanitarian mission, doing what the rest of the world should be doing, including the EU, the European community where I'm from. And we are trying to break the seeds that under international law, the EU should be doing, and they're not. They're shirking their responsibilities, and their time will come.
We are counting on you to use your voice, your platform, everything you have at hand to protect humanity, to protect human rights, and to stand on the right side of history. Thank you.
I just want to say something about what this gentleman just said there. He said, we're doing what the EU should be doing and what the rest of the world should be doing. He's 100% correct. And this brings up this point of mutual aid. Because when you think about it, the flotilla, people volunteering their time to get aid into Gaza, that's mutual aid. This is a form of mutual aid, them choosing to gather and help people where the governments have failed. That's where it comes from. If you think back to the Black Panthers, they didn't start mutual aid just for shits and giggles. They did so because the government had failed. The government failed their communities, and they said, we're going to take care of our people. We're going to distribute food. We're going to give out free breakfast for kids to make sure that they can have a decent meal before they go to school. We're going to help the people. This is what this is, guys. And so, those of us at RBN, we're very passionate about mutual aid. We do mutual aid. And I want you to take that into consideration. This is probably one of the grandest gestures of mutual aid that you can see during this point in time. And you'll see the flotilla here. Shout out to Craig Monkheiber. The Freedom Flotilla's humanitarian ship, Madeline, has alerted the public that it is now being tracked by drones. I'll show you that clip in just a second. This is very dangerous, as the Israeli regime is infamous for using drones to attack civilians, and it has twice attacked the Freedom Flotilla ships, murdering 10 passengers in the first attack. All states must act to protect the ship and its passengers from the regime's violence to ensure its safe passage to Gaza. So again, this is the ship, ladies and gentlemen, that's trying to bring the aid in. And so this is what Greta and the other volunteers are doing. This is very dangerous. This isn't something that let's just get on this boat and nothing's going to happen. No, they're really risking their lives to do this, because Israel is known to attack other boats that have tried to do this, that have tried to find a way to get that aid in. She was actually in an interview recently on Al Jazeera on the boat talking about this. Again, young person who is willing to volunteer their time. And honestly, this is risking your life, And they have already alerted people. They sent out a warning that they saw drones. We'll show you that video in just a second.
But why did you feel it was vital for you not only to support the Madeleine, but to be on board it?
It's just if you have any sense of humanity left, then there is no option but to stand with Palestine and to do everything you can. And for some reason, I have a platform that I can use. And if my presence on this boat can contribute in any way to showing solidarity with Palestinians, then I will do that.
Are you hopeful that the presence of prominent figures like yourself, like the Irish actor Liam Cunningham, this time on this boat, might help increase the Madeleine's chances of actually reaching Gaza?
That we don't know. But what we do know is that I and the others on board will continue doing everything we can, both in the short term and in the long term, to fight for justice and to demand an end to Israel's war crimes.
Given what happened to previous boats, do you in your heart feel you really will make it to Gaza? What are the chances, do you feel?
The uncertainties are very big, of course, and we have made many risk assessments trying to judge the situation, and we are preparing for different scenarios to respond in a non-violent way to maximize our safety. But we are aiming to sail to Gaza. That is what we do know at this point.
Just think about this for a moment. She knows they may not even make it there. And everybody should be talking about this moment. Everyone should be talking about this right now. Not the latest drama with the Kardashians. Everyone should be talking about the fact that these people are risking their lives to try to get this aid into Gaza, to try to help these people on this boat. It's not like they're on a yacht. They're on a sailboat. It's very brave. If I, some of you have kids. If I had kids, like, this is who I would want my kids to look up to an action like this. Not the Kardashians. Something like this, like really trying to get out there to help the people where the governments have failed. And so what we learn is that when the governments fail the people, who usually will pick up that mantle? The activists. It's the activists that get up in the streets, that get out there to help the people when the government fails. But what it teaches us is that the government will fail you at some point in time. And so if you know that the government is going to fail you because they are beholding to Wall Street, they're beholding to corporate interests, if you know that, what that means is that we are wasting time in between presidential elections to sit around and just wait for the next election and hope that this next person will be the great, savior. That we should be organizing within that period, after elections, during elections, regardless. We should always be organizing and working to fix some of these things on our own. Now, we can't fix everything. Some things do have to go through legislation. But what this shows you, again, when the government fails the people, it is usually the activists, the organizers who pick up the mantle and step in. A little bit more here.
What will it mean for the world if this boat is either attacked by drones, as the Conscience was, or raided by Israeli commandos, as the Mavi Marmara was?
Yeah, we have made it very clear from the beginning that we are 12 peaceful volunteers who are not carrying weapons. We are carrying humanitarian aid. We will not be responding in any violent way. We are sailing on international waters, which is our right to do. So again, if someone, IOF or allies with Israel, decides to attack us, then it is just another example of the disrespect of international law and human rights.
Because Israel thinks they own everything. Like, she's right. Those are international waters. Now I want to show you something. Since I said those are international waters, because they already spotted drones, right? So let me bring this up on the screen here. You'll see this map here. So they were already miles outside of Greenland. They're headed in this direction towards Gaza. I hope I pronounced Greenland right. But they were already miles outside of Greenland. Now, listen to this video so you can hear what they said they have already started to see.
Hello, Iran. We are reporting here from the Madrid. We are right now at 80 kilometers from Greek lands and 68 kilometers from Greek territorial waters. What happened is that we just spotted a drone, and we confirmed it is a drone, but we just lost visual with it. It could have either turned back or turned off the lights.
So they're telling people that they just spotted a drone. Okay, so they're just, again, a couple miles outside of Greenland.
We have our safety procedures here, and it demands us to go get all of our life jackets. We prepare to alert level at the maximum, especially if it's approaching us, and we sound the alarm for you. Now we count on all of you to share what's going on here and to please let the world know that we are 80 kilometers from Greece and we need your help.
So they're telling people that they need their help. Now, again, if we go back to this map, let me bring this up here. I can't really zoom in, right? So Greenland, this looks like a theme. I wish I could make this bigger, but I can't. Yeah, because that's just as big as it is. The drones, they said, were coming from here. So this is another thing. You know, Israel isn't stupid. Israel's very smart. right? So they can have other countries send those drones. And good point here. Greece has huge arms deal with Israel. See, there you go. This is what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be. I thought so. Athens, Dutch map. Thank you, Random. So yeah, from Greece. So Israel's very intelligent. Like in this aspect, the drones don't have to come from Israel. They can come from other countries. And it appears like that's what's happening. Now, we have to make sure we follow this story because like I said, like they're basically risking their lives to do this. None of them have to do this. None of them. But they know that this is necessary. And I say it's the craziest week ever because at the same time, this happened at the UN. So you'll see once again, the US has vetoed yet another UN Security Council resolution. It's always us. It's always the United States.
U.S. opposition to this resolution should come as no surprise. It is unacceptable for what it does say. It is unacceptable for what it does not say. And it is unacceptable for the manner in which it has been advanced. The United States has been clear. We would not support any measure that fails to condemn Hamas and does not call for Hamas to disarm and leave Gaza. In recent months, Hamas has rejected numerous ceasefire proposals, including one over the weekend, that would provide a pathway to end this conflict and release the remaining 58 hostages. We cannot allow the Security Council to reward Hamas's intransigence.
So the United States stands alone. If you look at the UN Security Council, once again, like I said, it is the US that continues to veto any ceasefire. Now, pay attention because the face of the vetoer has changed, but the vote is still the same. The party has changed, but the vote is still the same. Because on certain issues, it doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican because they agree on certain issues. This is one of them. But when you see that happen, you got to see this, right? This is what we refer to it as. Craig is right. Another blood-soaked hand is raised. For the fifth time since the current wave of genocide in Palestine began, the U.S. has again vetoed a ceasefire in the UN Security Council. For those still claiming the U.S. is trying to negotiate a ceasefire, your lies are exposed for all the world to see. This is not a mediator. This is the gesture of a co-perpetrator of a genocide error. So everyone remember the Black woman, Linda Greenfield? She was the one who was raising her hand. So different party, different administration, different person, but the vote is the same. This is something that the United States government is going to have to grapple with at some point, I think, in years to come, because everybody can see we're the only country that is refusing to allow a ceasefire. Knowing that people are starving, knowing that I saw a video last night of a baby being pulled from under the rubble again. Knowing that people are starving, that people are dying, that women and children, knowing all these things. So if you're against the ceasefire, you are allowing that to continue. And the reason why they're allowing it to continue is because the U.S. government wants the Palestinian people gone just as much as Israel does. Now, they won't say it that way, but that's what they want. The government has failed. The government has failed the people. And when the government fails the people, this is when you look to the activists. This is when the activists rise up. Now, you ain't got to agree with Greta on everything, but she don't really have to do this. She really doesn't. None of those people on that boat have to do what they are doing. None of them. That's not a safe journey. It is a dangerous one. We don't know if they will make it or not. I sincerely hope that they do. But when the government fails, the people, it is the activists that you look to. It is usually the activists that stand up. We have seen this time and time through history again, over and over. Look throughout our history. When the government failed the people, the activists were the ones that stood up to help the people. So I applaud her for what she's doing. I know some people were like, oh, this is just a photo op. Looks like they're risking their life to me. So I hope that they sincerely make it there. They're able to get the aid there. But like I said, none of these people have to do this. And I think the more that we learn to depend on each other, the less disappointment that we have from our public officials. That's what I think. Let's go to the comment on, is that Rockfin? Oh, Rumble. Sorry. All right. Thank you, Kinky, for the tip on the Rumble rant. Good job, Sabby. Thanks, Shanda and JB. Thank you. And thanks for the tip on Rockfin, Dave. Agree, Sabs. They may get killed on the way on the route to Gaza. Yeah. It's a dangerous trip. Let's go to some of the comments over here as well. Thank you, Marvin. Please have Ken O'Keefe ex-USMC on 2010 Freedom Flotilla. Someone else sent me that name. Thank you for reminding me. I'll look it up. Thank you, Marlon. Pray for them. They are in real danger of being martyrs. Skylar says a TikToker said the flotilla is performative activism. Like what? They're literally on a boat bringing aid despite Israel bombing their ship the last time. That is the opposite of performative. Yeah. And you know, I'll call out performative activism in a minute, but this don't look like that. Cup of Joy said, this is the bravest group of people I've seen in years. Thank you, Mark. Sabby, I looked Mavi Mamara up on Wikipedia the other day. It had been distorted by Zios. Interesting. Okay. All right, guys, if you haven't done so, smash the like. It is the craziest week ever in news, ladies and gentlemen. Here comes another crazy story. Well, it wouldn't be the first time that Donald Trump has implemented a travel ban. He did so during his first administration. But now we are seeing a different type of travel ban. He is banning travel from 12 countries. Wait till you see what those countries are. Let's go ahead and get into this clip here, ladies and gentlemen. I got to tell you, these countries have something in common. Something in common.
Out of the White House right now, President Trump has once again announced a travel ban. Now, apparently this is similar to the one he enacted during his first term in office. We are still combing through a lot of the details here, but it looks like he just signed an executive order either restricting or limiting nationals from 12 different countries. They are, and we're reading this as we speak here, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Congo, Equatorial New Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. And again, this is all just coming in from the White House right now. So we're combing through it. But apparently this looks like it may go into effect on Monday. We have also been told that the president has been considering this for some time, but has expedited this after the attacks that we saw, or the attack that we saw from a suspect in Boulder, Colorado. And so it does look like that timeline has been accelerated again.
But those countries that are, and we'll get to the list in a second, those countries have nothing to do with Boulder, Colorado.
Looking through this pretty large release that just came from the White House. We're trying to gather a little bit more information, but he also appears to be restricting access from some other places, Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. Those are restrictions that distinguish between but apply to both the entry of immigrants and non-immigrants. Quite the number of countries. 12 countries are on this ban, and then 7 other countries will see limited restrictions as well. And then sections 2 and 3 of this proclamation apparently has to do with identity management. And he is saying that there were some identity management issues that have come up during this administration that he has found to be inadequate. So he's using this as the president is using this to justify that unrestricted entry of nationals from the named countries would be detrimental to the interests of the United States. However, when it comes to the actual details on how he made these determinations, the White House is saying publicly disclosing additional details would cause serious damage to the national security of the United States. And a lot of those details are classified. So not a lot of questions in terms of the answers in terms of the particulars, but the questions are coming in fast and furious here. Joining us right now on the phone is Gabe Gutierrez.
Pause here before they get to dude on the phone. So one thing that I want to add is this. Notice that Cuba is one of the countries that has restrictions, right? Isn't that crazy? Right? We're back to restricted access with Cuba again. So pay attention to this, guys. Pay attention to what is really going on.
Who I know has probably also got this on your laptop in front of you. Gabe, what do we know so far?
Hey there, Gotti. Well, as you were saying, this is breaking news just happened in the last several minutes. It does come just a few days after the Boulder, Colorado attack. I think that's important context here, that the administration, also been working to take into custody family members of that suspect. Now, this is kind of a resurrecting of the travel ban policy from his first term, Gotti. And again, he just signed this proclamation tonight preventing people from a dozen countries from entering the U.S. Now, the countries include, and I know you probably listed them, but, it includes Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Haiti, Iran, Libya, and others. Now, in addition to the ban, by the way, it takes effect, has been, front and center.
I just wanted to show you that list because I want to go over a couple of things. So here are the countries: Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, the Congo, okay, Equatorial Guinea. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Sorry. Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. You know what these countries have in common? So obviously people are like, these are black and brown countries. Yeah, but there's something else these countries have in common. Let's go one by one. Afghanistan. Didn't the US government destroy Afghanistan? Right? Did you guys know, how we're talking about starvation in Gaza? Did you know that when under Biden's administration, when he decided to start pulling troops out of Afghanistan, did you know that there was a starvation and humanitarian watch in Afghanistan because the children were starving? You see, everywhere the US government seems to go, they seem to just leave a lot of damage and wreckage in their wake. Everywhere. All of these countries, Guinea, Guinea. Okay, guinea pig. Gotcha. They seem to go and destroy these countries. Afghanistan has been destroyed by the United States government. Destroyed. But they had opium. But you see, that's how the US government works. Once they get what they need from these countries, once they get their resources, they don't need you anymore. Then they try to destroy the country. So now the people in Afghanistan don't really have anything. They don't want you coming here, right? Remember, this is a travel ban. This doesn't mean that these countries are not allowed to come seek asylum. It means you cannot travel from these countries. Look at the other ones. Burma, Chad. I don't know as much about Chad and Burma. But the Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo, there's a genocide happening in the Congo. There is slave labor happening in the Congo. There is exploitation of minor children in the mines happening in the Democratic Republic of the Congo because they have resources that not just the US government, but the whole world needs, which is cobalt. Because cobalt is the reason why you're able to run these smartphones, the rechargeable batteries. What has happened to the Congo, and I need to bring another person on to talk about this a little bit more. What has happened to the Congo is absolutely devastating. And it's not just the US government. A lot of times people don't talk about Israel's role in the Congo as well. The diamonds and the resources that Israel stole from the Congo. See, it's all connected. One colonizer after another one, all connected. Okay, so people in the Congo, genocide, exploitation, stealing resources. Don't want them here. Eritrea is interesting. I interviewed a gentleman from that area about 2 years ago. That is another one where the U.S. has gone in and caused mess. Another one. U.S. forces going in and causing mess, causing problems with the people, but stealing their resources. You see, a lot of these countries in Africa are very rich in resources, whether it's gold, diamond, cobalt, lithium. The West loves to take the resources. The West doesn't care about the people. Hell, the West don't even care. They don't even care about us. So you think they care about people in the Congo? Notice how quickly their usual statement of we got to look after the women and the children. Remember how they said that about Afghanistan? But what about the women and the children? We got to go in there to help them because of the women and the children. Remember that phrase? Notice you don't hear them say that anymore after the genocide started in Gaza. Because it was never really about the women and the children to begin with. Haiti is one of the countries that the U.S. government, not just the U.S. government, also France, but Haiti has also been devastated because of the actions of the U.S. government, but they like to steal their resources. We can go all the way back to Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson sent in the U.S. Marines to occupy Haiti, to take control of their businesses and their finances, including their banks. Ask people in Haiti about the Clintons, about Bill Clinton and the peeps. Ask them about that and what they did. There's no country, and I've said this over and over again, particularly in that area, no country has been vilified more than Haiti. But Haiti had a lot of resources. Everybody says Haiti's poor, but it had a lot of resources. Oh, of course, Iran. Of course, Iran is on here. Now I'm going to go ahead and keep it real with you. If you were coming from Iran, you had a hard time coming here to begin with anyway. Now you're not coming at all. And they don't want Iran to come here because no one from Iran wants to play their game right now. They don't want to play their game. They're not willing to bend the knee to Israel. So no. Don't let Iran come here. No one from Iran. I had students that came from Iran that were admitted very, very smart. And it was like pulling teeth just to get them here because of getting the student visa, going through this everything with immigration. You don't understand how difficult it is to get a student who has been accepted. These kids were accepted into MIT. They were accepted. They were given fellowships. It was so difficult to just get them in the country. I didn't even know if we would have them here in time for orientation. Because it's really, really hard for people who are coming from Iran. Right? Iran don't want to play their game. Libya. Oh my God. What happened in Libya? What happened in Libya? Oh, let's talk about the US government leaving wreckage in their path. The US government overthrew Gaddafi had Gaddafi killed, overthrew him, and then a slave trade started in Libya after the overthrow of Gaddafi. Like I said, this government, the West, just leaves wreckage wherever they go. So no, they don't. See, they go in and they destroy these countries, but then they tell the people, no, you got to stay there. You got to stay there and live with the mess that we caused. Can't come here. It's like that scene in Forrest Gump. Can't sit there. Or here, how she said, can't sit here. Seats taken. Somalia. Yeah. I mean, Somalia has been bombed under Biden administration and Trump administration. They've been destroying things in Somalia as well. Don't want them to come here, though. Let us have our military bases in your country. We're here to protect you and steal your resources and then screw everything up for you and make you impoverished. And then we'll go back to the U.S. But don't you ever think about coming here. What's the next one? Sudan. Another big crisis that is happening thanks to the West involvement. Now, some of this started under Obama's presidency, the Sudan situation. We've covered this before on this show. Some of that started under Barack Obama, but not all of it. But you talk about people being killed. There's a genocide happening in Sudan. It just seems like to me, I don't know, everywhere the West and their European allies tend to go, they seem to leave wreckage. They ruin everything that they touch. And last but not least, Yemen. After the U.S. government spent years giving weapons to Saudi Arabia to destroy Yemen and brutalize the people, the U.S. government not only says Ansar Allah has no right to be doing what they're doing, shouldn't be there, the Houthis they're bad people, but then also, we know we killed all those damn people in your country, and you guys have to live with that in that rubble, but also you can't come here. You see, everybody I noticed was a lot of people were pointing out the obvious. Yes, it's easy to look at this list and say, these are all the black and brown countries. That's the easy part. But I noticed a lot of people didn't take the next step. What else do all these countries have in common? These are countries that the West has ruined, destroyed. They've slaughtered people in these countries. We have to start thinking outside the box. Sometimes when we look at things, we have to say, okay, what is everybody else going to see? What's obvious? And is there something I can see about this that may not be obvious? And I noticed this today with the vote blue no matter who crowd on social media. We're very quick to say, see, he went after all the black and brown countries. Donald Trump is racist because he's going after black and brown countries. Okay, tell me something new. He did this under his first presidential term. I don't know why people are surprised. What was really upsetting was to see that people did not see what else all these countries had in common. These countries have been destroyed. And because the countries have been destroyed, usually what happens after that, if they've overthrown leaders in those countries, leave those countries in wreckage, there is going to be some type of resistance that forms. And then the U.S. government will point to those resistance and say, oh, no, that's terrorism over there. So no one from that country can come here. But they'll totally leave out the fact that that resistance would have never existed if they didn't step foot in their country, rob their people, steal their resources, kill their leaders, and install their own form of government. So I want Americans to wake up. I want people to stop pointing out, oh my God, look at what's so obvious. Whoop-de-doo. That's exactly what I would say corporate media, they want you to do. I'm sure MSNBC, all of them, they're eating this up right now. They're like, oh, look, it's the black and brown countries. Fox News will look at this and say, yeah, that's where there's so many terrorists in those countries. They're both playing a game. And what I'm trying to ask you guys to do is don't fall for that game. Look at what they're not telling you. The United States has destroyed so many countries. They wreak havoc everywhere they go. None of these countries have bases all over the world. We do. None of these countries are going out to these countries in the West and still, do you see them stealing our resources? And their goal and the media's goal is to convince you that all of these countries are evil. They're evil, bad people. They don't want to take you through history. They don't want to tell you what the US has done to these countries or what European countries have done to these countries. They don't want to do that. They just want you to focus on they're all black and brown countries. And that's where they keep you. They keep you right there in that little box. Don't think any further. Don't look any further. Stay right there in that lane. Don't think too much. If I get frustrated, it's because I saw people stand right in that lane. We're not looking to see what else these countries could have in common. And on both sides, vote blue no matter who fell right into the trap of, oh, they're all black and brown countries, and just stop right there. MAGA supporters on social media fell right for the fox of, those are all the terrorist countries. And they're like, yeah, that's where all the radical Muslim people and all that stuff are. And just stopped right there. Both sides are being played, both sides falling for it. That's what people should be paying attention to. We'll go on a little bit more here.
In court, I tried texting with several civil rights attorneys that will no doubt take issue with this. For example, the ACLU has been front and center on the fight on some of the other proclamations that the president has signed. But look, this is something that the White House feels that it is entitled to do, that the American people, that President Trump's voters wanted from him when they put him into office, and they're certain to take a very defined tone here, God.
And Gabe, I'm just looking at this right now, and we had that list of the countries up there, starting with Afghanistan. One of the things that I don't remember seeing during the first travel ban, but I'm starting to see here is, a quick justification on the proclamation. So when it comes to Afghanistan, they are saying that this has been a hotbed of this specifically designated global terrorist group, the Taliban. But then they get.
No, it's because they have starvation, like serious starvation in Afghanistan. I want you guys to think about something. The United States government, it started under Biden and it continued under Donald Trump. They basically just rebranded Jelani in Syria. The same guy that they told you was on the terrorist watch list and to stay away from him and he was killing all these people. They basically cleaned this guy up, gave him a shave, put on a suit, and rebranded this guy. Should you really listen to what they say when they tell you someone is a terrorist group or not? Should you take their word for it? He said that there's a civil rights attorneys are looking into this now and Okay. Where were the civil rights attorneys when we were overthrowing leaders in these countries, when we were starving children in those countries, when the US and Western countries were killing people in those countries, stealing resources in those countries? Where were the civil rights lawyers then? Where was the noise from the civil rights lawyers then? Because see, civil rights is not just supposed to be, let me stand up and advocate for civil rights when someone on the right is in power, when it's the right time to do it. Because the civil rights movement wasn't popular during that time. Many would say, oh, no, it's not the right time to do it. A lot of Black people were not on board with that at that time, despite what people may tell you. So where were all the civil rights lawyers when we were looting those countries and killing the people there? This is the new travel ban. These are the 12 countries. And again, everybody pay close attention to what we have done to those countries. Don't just stop with the surface level of they're all black and brown countries. Duh. Let's go further. Let's use our mind to go deeper. Because what they know is this. They know that in these countries that they destroy, they know it's only a matter of time before people will start to leave those countries because there's nothing there and try to make their way to other Western countries. It's not always the US. Sometimes it's also European countries as well, despite what a lot of politicians will tell you. This also happens in Europe. So this is also kind of an immigration issue. Let's go ahead and ban this so we don't have them coming here. But they'll never tell you what they did to those people. Craziest week ever, fam. Craziest week ever. Let's go ahead and get the comment there on Rockfin. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Above comment. They looted, I think, $2.3 billion taken from Afghanistan when they left before leaving Afghanistan in 2022. There it is, fam. Let's go to some of the comments over here. Thank you, Echo Pup Music. Lindsey Graham was on Twitter threatening Greta. Of course he was. By the way, all bark, no bite. All bark. I've seen Lindsey Graham before in person. All bark, no bite. Thank you, Marlon. The people should have veto power or the power to defund wars and weapons to rogue governments. I agree with you on that. Thank you, One Box. I think CIA is the residual effect of U.S. government humanitarianism. Ooh, interesting. Ashura says the USA is the locust that destroys your hard-earned crop, Sabby. Skylar, I ain't seen a Congolese stealing American minerals. Nope. Thank you, Marlon. Capitalists capitalize on the resources of the defenseless, aka American interests, which are the profits of our corporations. And thank you, Focus. Where was the NAACP when James Connolly was falsely accused of murder by Leo Frank? Nowhere to be found. Where you going? Nowhere. Nowhere to be found. And now we're going to get into a little bit of comedy here, folks. A little bit of comedy. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Okay. We're about to go into our next story. Again, the theme is the craziest week ever. If you haven't done so, smash the like button. Thank you. And let's keep it moving on. Okay, folks. Wednesday night, there was I guess, monumental debate between Andrew Cuomo, mainly between Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamandi. And in particular, I found some of these things quite funny. We're going to look at some of the clips from that debate and then that huge announcement that came from AOC after this debate, because it appears that AOC has officially endorsed Zohran. So that's out there in the open now. So we can't say she hasn't endorsed him. She has now officially endorsed him. And it's interesting, she waited to do so after the debate. We'll get into all of that and what the strategy is there. But first and foremost, we really got to go through some of the clips of this debate. Andrew Cuomo, based on what I saw, did not do well. And obviously, if you watch it, everybody was after Andrew Cuomo. And there's a lot to go after him for. He's corrupt. He's commercial. He's corporate. He killed all those people in the nursing home, things like that. And speaking of the nursing home, that's one of the first questions I wanted to dive into here. Check this out. Andrew Cuomo is repeatedly asked whether or not he was producing the report of the undercounted nursing home deaths. Listen to this, guys. This one is a big one.
I hear you. But the question is whether or not it's political and whether or not your congressional testimony was truthful. Were you, now that you've had time to reflect, involved in producing that report that undercounted those nursing home deaths?
Oh, there was no doubt that my administration produced the report, and it did not undercount the deaths.
Okay, but you're still saying you were not involved in producing it.
It's very clear. That's the Trump line, the MAGA line, right? Because this was.
No, it's not. So let me go ahead and stop here. What Andrew Cuomo is trying to do is the people who attack him because of the nursing home deaths, he's trying to basically say that's a right-wing talking point. No, you were outed by multiple outlets. Now, we're supposed to believe that everybody else was wrong and Andrew Cuomo is correct. And this is the same guy who told you that he didn't sexually harass any of those women, then later on came back and apologized. Why would you apologize for sexually harassing someone if you didn't sexually harass them? Things like that. I don't trust Andrew Cuomo as far as I can throw him. I don't. He's corrupt. He's corporate. He'll do whatever he needs to do for big business. He's also heavily tied to big real estate. He had difficulty trying to answer these questions last night. And I sincerely hope New Yorkers see that. I hope New Yorkers that watch this debate, they really take that in to notice that this guy is not who should be the mayor of New York City. And I don't have to live there to tell you that. He's very corrupt.
During the Trump reelection.
Okay.
The New York reports always counted the number of deaths where they occurred, in a nursing home or in a hospital.
Okay.
Now that all the dust is clear.
Okay, we have to move on, though. We have to give other people a chance. We'll all have a lot more time on other subjects.
It's a yes or no. It's a very easy answer. All right, hold on, candidates.
Did you lie to Congress? All right. Will you acknowledge the deaths?
Okay.
I mean, it's a very black and white.
Okay.
Did you lie to Congress, or will you acknowledge the death? 15,000 people died, and he still won't answer your question.
All right, here's a chance to answer the question as Melissa presented it.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
No, I told Congress the truth. No, we did not undercount any deaths. When they are all counted, we're number 38 out of 50, which I think shows that compared to what other states went through, we had it first and worst, and that only 12 states had a lower rate of death. We should really be thanking the women and men who worked in those nursing homes and did an extraordinary
very
job.
quick yes or no follow-up, if I may. Just the question is, were you involved in the producing of that report? It's just a yes or no question.
I was very aware of the report. I spoke to it at press conferences.
No, before it was released, Mr. Cuomo. The question is about the production of the report, the creation.
All right,
Okay, we're going to move on. We're not getting an answer. We're not going to
stand by the report.
No, it was just to whether or not you were involved.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Mr. Myrie.
So you see what's happening here with Andrew Cuomo? Mr. Cuomo here had difficulty all night, by the way, last night, answering questions directly. He tried to dance around the questions because it implicates him, right? It just is what it is. This implicates Andrew Cuomo. He did not do a good job. And yes, he really messed up when it came to the nursing home deaths. And not only that, yeah, you did apologize for sexually harassing those women. And it just, to me, it's just, like I said, when I said this is the craziest week ever, like the fact that I feel that Andrew Cuomo is just riding on his name. That's it. You know, his father was a politician. He was a politician. He was governor. And now he's trying to be mayor of New York City. And I feel like he didn't really feel like he had to really do anything when he came into that debate because his name alone would be enough to get him by. And now we're starting to see that the race is getting closer because we're starting to see that Zohran is catching up to Andrew Cuomo. And now that he has that endorsement from AOC, that's probably going to help him, son. I don't know if he will win. I'll get to that a little bit later, but that is going to help him in some way, shape, or form. Now, we'll go to another fire exchange here between those two.
Why wouldn't President Trump target you and by extension, target New Yorkers? You have 1 minute.
President Trump will target whomever is the next mayor of the city. President Trump even targeted his, in many ways, accomplice, Mayor Eric Adams, who has collaborated with the Trump administration at almost every opportunity. And still, in the midst of that collaboration, we saw that New Yorkers are being taken off the streets in their apartment building lobbies. We have $80 million being taken out of our city bank account. So I don't think there's any question that there's any mayor here that will be free from being attacked by Donald Trump. What's more important, however, is that we have a mayor who will actually fight back. And that's what I will do. I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare as a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in. And the difference between myself and Andrew Cuomo is that my campaign is not funded by the very billionaires who put Donald Trump in D.C. I don't have to pick up the phone from Bill Ackman or Ken Langone. I have to pick up the phone for the more than 20,000 New Yorkers who contributed an average donation of about $80 to break fundraising records and put our campaign in second place.
Okay, Mr. Mamdani, thank you. Mr. Cuomo, you want to respond?
Let me just say something here. I think he did pretty well during this debate last night. Like I do. What he did right here is he's showing the difference between his class and Andrew Cuomo's class. Like, right? Like Andrew Cuomo's really cozy, like with the billionaire class. And he's basically showing, look, I'm representing the working people, working class people, the grassroots. That's the difference between the two of us. Although I will tell you something else. Because we're going to talk about the pros and cons of Zohran. Because there's something about this guy to me that I'm trying my best not to fall for the mistakes that I fell for when AOC ran. There's some things about him to me that just gives me the impression that, you know, he's like a social democrat, DSA type candidate, that he probably will end up going the ways of AOC, where he tries to walk the line a little bit and still have some progressive cred, but, you know, still kind of bend over for Dem leadership. I get that impression from him. Now, I could be wrong, but just going with, you know, a feeling that I have. But you'll see there's two things that he did that give me pause. That really do give me pause. Now, he's not as crazy as Andrew Cuomo's ridiculousness self. He's not as crazy as Andrew Cuomo, but there's something about, you'll see.
Yeah, please. You know, Mr. Mamdani is very good on Twitter and with videos, but he actually produces nothing for him to accuse me of lying. He also called President Obama a liar and said President Obama was evil. So take everything with a grain of salt.
Well, is that a lie? See, this is the thing. Barack Obama was a liar. Barack Obama, you could say he is evil. Some of the things that he's done. How do you go to Flint, Michigan and pretend to drink dirty water in front of a room of people that have been infected by the dirty water? Is that good? No, I think that's kind of evil. Yeah, he was a liar. He ran on a bunch of shit that he had no intention doing or trying to do. He is a liar. That's okay to say that. This idea that we can't criticize Obama, although Obama thing is kind of going away. I'll say this to Andrew Cuomo as well. You might want to read the streets on this, because the reality is more and more people are tired of Barack Obama and his bullshit. Okay, so there's that. But this idea that these individuals, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, or the Clintons, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, these idea that you can't criticize people in that Clinton-esque circle because of their name and who they are or whatever is BS. There's nothing about that screams working class. There's nothing about that screams, you know, free speech or grassroots. All of these people, you know what they all have in common? They're all corrupt. That's what they all have in common. So, I mean, Zohran wasn't lying. Barack Obama was a liar.
Donald Trump would go through Mr. Mamdani like a hot knife through butter. He's been in government 27 minutes. He passed 3 bills. That's all he's done. He has no experience with Washington, no experience in New York City. He would be Trump's delight.
All right.
If he's only been in office for 27 minutes and he's passed 3 bills, then he's done more than a lot of people in Congress that have been there for years. This reminds me of the time that Joseph Kennedy III decided to run against Ed Markey for his Senate seat, which was just stupid. We didn't know what he was doing, but he decided to do that, and he really had no real reason as to why he was running other than he just wanted that Senate seat and he was a Kennedy. That's what this kind of reminds me of. Cuomo feels like he just deserves it and is owed to him because of who he is.
Brief response, Mr. Mamdani, then we have to move on.
Look, it's true that I don't have experience with corrupt Trump billionaires who are funding my campaign. I don't have experience with party politics and insider consultants. I do have experience, however, with winning $450 million in debt relief for thousands of working class taxi drivers and actually delivering it to the working class people.
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani. Mr. Lander, you've presented.
So that was actually a good way to counter that, to challenge that question, because once again, he showed the class difference. That was a good comeback. I'm not going to lie. He's like, yeah, unlike you, I don't have that experience working with these billionaires and stuff like that. Like, that's you. Now, there's another part here that I want to get into. I don't think this is the same one. Let's bring it back up.
Why wouldn't President Trump target you and, by extension, target New Yorkers? You have 1 minute.
President Trump will target whomever is the next mayor of the city. President Trump even targeted his, in many ways, accomplice, Mayor Eric Adams, who has collaborated with the Trump administration at almost every opportunity. And still, in the midst of that collaboration, we saw that New Yorkers are being taken off the streets in their apartment building lobbies. We have $80 million being taken out of our city bank account. So I don't think there's any question that there's any mayor here that will be free from being attacked by Donald Trump. What's more important, however, is that we have a mayor who will actually fight back. And that's what I will do. I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare as a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in. And the difference between myself and Andrew Cuomo is that my campaign is not funded by the very billionaires who put Donald Trump in D.C. I don't have to pick up the phone from Bill Ackman or Ken Langone. I have to pick up the phone for the more than 20,000 New Yorkers who contributed an average donation of about $80 to bring.
Yeah, so then it repeats that part. So I just wanted to say something here. This part about Bill Ackman. So now you know that Andrew Cuomo is also in bed with Bill Ackman. Does that mean something? Yeah, it does. Bill Ackman was the one that made the push for Harvard University to remove their president because of the pro-Palestinian protests. He's a staunch Zionist. That's who Andrew Cuomo is in bed with. New Yorkers, I don't know what to tell you other than this. If this is what you want, you know, I could see more crackdown on speech. Let's get into this part here about the rent freeze. I thought he did a good job with this, actually.
If you are one of the close to 2.5 million New Yorkers who live in rent-stabilized housing, I will freeze your rent. And I will do that because you have a median household income of $60,000 while your landlord profits have increased by 12%. This is an act that will bring nearly $7 billion back into your pocket and back into the pockets of our local economy. This is what we will do immediately, and we'll do so because the mayor has the power to. Even though there are those like Andrew Cuomo on this stage who will tell you it's unrealistic, we know the previous mayor actually did this 3 times. And on top of this, we're going to build 200,000 truly affordable homes. Homes that are for the New Yorker who has a median household income of $70,000 for a family of 4. We'll
pause here for a second. This was a good point to bring up. Again, I just don't think Andrew Cuomo showed up prepared last night. I think he was riding on his name. One good thing that Bill de Blasio did is that he did that. He did a rent freeze. I think he did it 3 times in New York City. So for the people saying you can't do that, yes, you can do that. Other mayors can do this too, by the way. Wink, wink. Other mayors can do this too. They probably don't want you guys to know about it, but that is something that he did.
do this while taking on the very bad landlords and the real estate developers who are funding Andrew Cuomo's campaign, $2.5 million last time I checked. And we're going to do that because ultimately every single person needs to follow the law, and that includes the landlords who are violating our housing code and have $800 million in fines that the city have yet to actually collect on. If you are
New York City housing is for the birds, man. I lived in New York for a short time, and I got to tell you, nowadays trying to get an apartment in New York City is like, I don't know, looking for a needle through a haystack. Like, I think now the requirement, the income requirement has increased post-pandemic. I think it's like that now in Boston too. I guess they want to make sure people are going to be able to pay just in case something like that were to happen again. So there's that. But it really is a rat race, like trying to find an apartment in New York City and then finding one that is somewhat suitable to somewhat near where your job is or whatever. Or I just think that it's very hard. And there's so much gentrification that has happened in New York City, especially in Brooklyn, like in neighborhoods like Williamsburg. Like I am still shocked at how that changed compared to when I lived in Brooklyn. It's a problem. You know, that guy was right years ago when he said the rent is too damn high. And that continues. It's too much. It is ridiculous. Like, I honestly don't know how people are affording this. Ain't no way in hell in 2025 in the United States of America should people in their 40s have to have 2 and 3 roommates just to pay the rent. It's crazy, crazy times. Then we get to the part about Israel. Because, of course, they felt the reason to bring this up. And I'm going to show this to prove something. Watch this.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you?
Okay, I thought that was a decent answer. Why does he need to go to Israel? Why does a mayor need to go to Israel? Now, I posted this on Twitter and someone was like, well, because they have the second largest Jewish population. Okay, why does he need to go to Israel? Because I just want, and any of you who lived in New York, let me know, okay? You know what else, New York? There's a lot of people in New York. There's a lot of Caribbean people in New York. There's a lot of Caribbean people. You can look all through Puerto Rican, Jamaican, you know, nobody is going to ask you during a debate, are you going to go to those countries? They're not asking you if you're going to go to Jamaica. They're not asking you if you're going to go to the Dominican Republic. They're not asking you if you're going to go to all these other countries. And there's a large Caribbean population in New York City. I know. But they don't ask you about that. They ask you, are you going to go to Israel? Why does a mayor need to visit Israel? They don't. This is that U.S.-Israel interest again. There are many countries in this world. And as mayor of a city, you really ain't got to go to none of them. Unless the city has been donating money. And that's what this is about. Boston, Massachusetts, we found out they donated $10 million a year to Israel. Yeah, we got people sitting on the street. We got veterans sleeping around Harvard Square. That's right here. Boston is way smaller than New York City. So if Boston donated $10 million a year to Israel, how much money has New York City donated a year to Israel? That's what this is about, to keep the money coming. And why the hell is Israel getting money from our cities when they have health care for everybody? They have free public college, and we don't even have those things here in our country. Our people aren't taken care of. Explain this to me, fam. That's what it's about. To keep the money flowing. You see what they do? This is what they do. They get these mayors and these city officials and they're like, oh, we'll fly you out to Israel for a trip. They bring them out there. They treat them all nice and da-da-da. Yeah. And are you going to donate money to the state of Israel? There's no way in hell we should be funding any country when we can't take care of our own damn people. But here we are. That's what this is about. This is insane. Absolutely insane. So many people are calling this out on social media, by the way.
Yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not as a Jewish state?
No,
as a state with equal rights.
Oh, dear God. And see, this may be the reason why when people are talking about the AOC endorsement, he said he believes that Israel has a right to exist, right? But then notice how he said as a state that has equal rights. In other words, it sounds like he supports a one-state solution, which we've discussed before on the show. And the way that they respond to this is just baffling. Again, this is the United States of America. Watch how they respond to equal rights.
It's a state with equal rights.
He won't
Not as
say
a
it
Jewish
has a
state.
right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very
And
clear
his
on
answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that.
That's what he was trying to say.
No. Unlike you, I answer. Unlike you, I answer questions very directly.
All right,
and I want to be very clear. I believe every state should be a state of equal rights.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mamdani.
And somehow that's a bad thing to say. Somehow it's a bad thing to say that you believe that every state should be a state with equal rights. These are the same people, the same politicians that, and Cuomo, as much as he tried to champion and say, I've been there for Black people in New York. Black people had to fight for equal rights in this country too. We had to fight to get out of Jim Crow laws. Black people had to fight to have, we had separate but equal at one point in this country, but it definitely was not equal. We had to fight. We had a civil rights movement. So how can you say you stand with us, but you don't want other people to have equal rights? See, this is why I want people to really wake up to. This is why I say I don't understand how people can fall for this bullshit. Anybody who is telling you, especially someone who's in the majority, anybody who is sitting up here telling you that they support you to have equal rights, but they're against other people having equal rights who are oppressed, that's a snake, boo. Because the same way he can say the things that he'll say about the Palestinian people, the same way he can have that attitude towards him, he can turn and also have that attitude towards you any minute. Especially the moment he doesn't need your vote. That's why I don't understand this. Why are so many Black people, when polled, willing to support him? That to me is baffling. Baffling. Now, here's something that's questionable about Mamdani. Everybody check this out. When they ask who's the most effective Democrat in this country, oh, this one's personal for me, honey. Listen to his answer.
I would say the most effective Democrat right now is Hakeem Jeffries.
Okay. Mr. Blake?
I would say myself because I actually defeated Donald Trump when I was vice chair of the DNC.
Mr. Mamdani?
Mayor Wu of Boston.
I got a problem with that. I got a problem with that. You know why? As someone who lives here in the Boston area, as someone who has confronted Mayor Wu about this issue before, Mayor Wu has been actively replacing Black people in Boston. Yes. Mayor Michelle Wu has ramped up gentrification in Boston. It didn't start with her, but she continued it. Gentrification has happened in Boston under the leadership of Mayor Menino, towards the end of his mayorship, under the leadership of Mayor Marty Walsh, and it continues under Mayor Michelle Wu, but she has ramped it up. In fact, you'll hear more about this when my documentary is released. The documentary is called Removed, and it's going to take you through all these people in Boston that have been kicked out of their neighborhoods. Mayor Wu is also a friend to big real estate. Now, Zohran, one of the things he criticized Cuomo about is being a friend to big real estate. Well, so is Mayor Michelle Wu. So if you're against Cuomo being a friend to big real estate, but you say Mayor Wu is most effective, do you not know that she's pushing Black people out of their neighborhoods? Who do you think signs these agreements for the developers to do it? Who do you think is actively taking over stadiums in Black neighborhoods and giving them to teams like the U.S. soccer team? So now the Black kids have nowhere to go play. That right there for me was a red flag. And like Mayor Wu, she was similar to Zohran in the fact that when she ran, she was saying some of the same things that he said. That is why he gives me pause. That is why he ran on affordable housing. Tia Wheeler's in the chat. She knows she ran on affordable housing. In fact, that was her number one big thing. And instead of that, her response as mayor has been, let's get black people up out of here, tear down the buildings, and let the developers build luxury condos. I've interviewed several people about this in Boston. That gives me pause. That's who he kind of reminds me of. Mayor Wu and AOC a little bit in the mix. That's concerning. There's another one. Can we go to part 2, Corey? As a Bostonian, I took that answer personally. Yeah, like that felt personal. When he said that, I got like a big, like I cringed, right? Because she's not who people think she is. It's like you gotta live here to see it, right? So that gave me some pause. And then the other part here, the endorsement. So now AOC finally does endorse Zohran. I told you if that happened, we would come on and we would cover that. And one of the things that she said here as to why she was endorsing him, Assemblymember Mondani has demonstrated a real ability on the ground to put together a coalition of working class New Yorkers that is strongest to lead the pack. In the final stretch of the race, we need to get very real about that. So, and she is ranking him first. I want to get into the ranked choice voting, which is one of the things that she said could be done to really help him win here. He did obviously accept that endorsement. He said AOC is a once-in-a-generation leader who has led the fight for working people in Congress. In 2018, she shocked the world and transformed our politics. On June 24th, with AOC support and this movement behind us, we will do the same. So there we go there. Now, obviously, there are many things to criticize AOC for, but he's not going to criticize someone he just got an endorsement from. And from what I understand, there were talks of this for this to happen prior to it. But I'm telling you, like, I know he stood up for the Palestinian people, and that's great. I really do, appreciate that. But the part that I wanted to say is that I get this feeling with him, and I don't know, man. I really do feel like he's going to be like a male version of AOC or Mayor Wu. That's the feeling that I get because he's still inside the machine. Now, one of the things I think that she wants to do is ranked choice voting for this particular election. Listen to this.
Couple of days.
And ranked choice voting makes this all the more interesting, especially because you've got AOC saying, okay, there's a strategic push to make sure that it's not Cuomo in this. Right. But then you look at some early polling that shows that right now, at least, that it is Cuomo's race to lose.
Yeah, the Working Families Party, there's this larger campaign to rank everybody but Andrew Cuomo. And, the fact that AOC has endorsed Mamdani and then ranked Adrienne, telling people to rank Adrienne Adams second, which really does actually boost her. But there's a question of whether or not all of the progressives in the city can unite against Cuomo and kind of follow this slate. It remains to be seen. It may be a low turnout race. I do think Cuomo's support is probably don't have a number 2 for him. They're going out just to vote for him. So this ranked choice sort of dynamic becomes really important if you want an alternative to him.
Yeah.
That's also why both of these parties don't really want ranked choice voting, because it would shake things up. It would change things. But it was interesting. He said like progressives voting for Cuomo. Why would a progressive vote for Andrew Cuomo? It's really, really weird. So the thing is, if you still believe in that strategy, again, like I said, he's like social democrat, DSA type candidate. If you still believe in that strategy, he just got that endorsement from AOC. I think that is going to help him, but I don't know if that would be enough for him to win. And this is why I say that. Looking at the track record, it doesn't seem to help people win. When AOC endorsed India Walton lost to a write-in campaign, and she was polling ahead of that candidate prior to that endorsement from AOC. When she endorsed, what's her name? Wiley? Maya Wiley? Maya Wiley lost. Okay. Maya Wiley also ran for mayor of New York City. More recently, when she endorsed Jamal Bowman for his reelection, he lost. So her track record, what the track record shows is that an endorsement from her doesn't mean that you're going to win. But considering this race is getting tighter, it could help him get, gain more momentum in the polls. But is it necessarily going to make him win? I don't know. I think big money will find a way to make sure that it's Cuomo or someone like him. I could see that happening. But yeah, DSA type, if that's your thing, that's who he is. Very vocal for Gaza, though. And apparently wants a one-state solution for Israel with equal rights. So very interesting, folks. Very interesting. And we'll come back to that poll in a minute. Let's go ahead and go to the comments here. Thank you, Charlie. Hey, I'm Italian. Isn't an apology, Andrew? I remember that, right? Holistic Hottie says, I'm in NYC. The developers choose who wins this race typically. Well, there you go. It's also corrupt. Thank you, Paul. Oh, they do, Sabby. They want no part of Cuomo, especially with ranked choice voting. Mondami is gaining momentum. I wish we had ranked choice voting. Thank you, Iranian Kiddo. Don Vito Cuomo. Thank you, Marlon. The Matrix, if you are renting, you are wealth batteries for corporations who have bought out the American dream. And thank you for the super chat, baby Ethernet. Americans are suffering from Israel exhaustion. I think so. Thanks, Yala. Sabby Zohran is another AOC, also comes from an affluent family and is still a Democrat. Shama and Butch are the only ones who are authentic. Why does everybody come from wealthy families too? Like, why is it that, do you have to come from a wealthy family to run? This is something else I'm noticing too. Thank you, Yala. Iranian Kiddo says AOCIA. And thank you, Yala. Sabby, these DSA and cringy SJW are bad for a Black agenda, and we must not forget the genocide in Yemen as well. There you go. 100. All right. And we're going to move on to the next story here. Okay. If you guys haven't done so, smash the like. Now it's time to have some laughs. So we started this thing on the show called the craziest stories of the week. And I know I said this is the craziest week ever is the theme, but this is probably the craziest story tonight. Or one of them. Former Biden press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre has announced that she has left the Democratic Party. And she's also announcing that she has too written a book. So she joined the likes of Jake Tapper to let everybody know what was really going on behind the scenes. Is this the latest grift? Everybody has a book. Everybody had a book now, folks. Everybody has one. Let's get into it and see what some of her colleagues have said about Karine Jean-Pierre. The Miss, oh, I'm so outspoken now. I have so much to say. It says KJP is leaving the Democratic Party. Her former White House colleagues have some thoughts, and they had some things to say about her, honey. We see the opportunist coming out. Karine's announcement that she's leaving the Democratic Party, timed with the rollout of a new book, has detonated long simmering grievances among her former White House colleagues about her pursuit of celebrity and personal media exposure while serving as then President Joe Biden's press secretary. What I tell you guys, a lot of these people just want to be celebrities. I don't even know. I feel like ever since, especially because of social media, we've entered like this celebrification of politics. And I think that's what a lot of these people want to do. So Karine, she just wanted to make some money, get a name out there for herself, write a book. It is what it is. The attention-grabbing ploy lit up the Democratic and Biden alumni texting groups and reignited frustrations that burned for years about her. According to 7 former Biden administration officials, this is really funny. Check this out. So they're not giving their names. One formal official recalled that Karine had joked about becoming an independent even while on the job in the Biden White House, an off-key comment for someone ostensibly serving as a major messenger for the Democratic Party. Another former official said that Karine had begun working during the Biden administration with a New York-based publicist and had copied that person on official emails before some of Karine's White House colleagues intervened. Well. Everyone thinks this is a grift. The first former official said of Karine's book project, as Biden's press secretary, Karine's halting, ineffectual briefings, exasperated reporters, and routinely offered material for the Republican Party's main account on X. She frustrated colleagues throughout the West Wing for focusing on raising her own profile while leaving the hands-on management of media relations and the White House press shop to other aides. While it's unclear how she will portray Biden or her time in the White House, in the book titled Independent, A Look Inside a Broken White House Outside the Party Lines, several former colleagues expressed confusion at how Karine seemingly intends to paint Biden as a victim while pinning her own decision to leave the party on his broken house. So let me say something here really quickly, folks. Karine Jean-Pierre has not left the Democratic Party because she felt like the Democratic Party's policies are too weak or they're not effective. They're not there for the working class. She left the Democratic Party because she's upset with the way that they treated Joe Biden. She left the Democratic Party because of the way that they treated Joe Biden. Because she's mad that she feels like Joe Biden was doing a great job, and she's mad because they wanted him to resign. They didn't want him to continue on in the race. That's why she left. So don't get excited into thinking, wow, she took a stand. She was tired. She said the policies weren't strong enough. Working class people were not getting their needs met, and that's why she left and became an independent. Nah, she left because she didn't like the way that they treated Joe Biden. So let's do the timing of this, folks. You got a book from Jake Tapper talking about how Biden didn't want to step down and how they were lied to, apparently. Everybody knew the truth. Anyway, he making money, right? Now you got this other book which counters the Jake Tapper book, basically giving some type of defense for Joe Biden. I can't make this up. Karine Jean-Pierre, it don't really matter what you got to say in this book. You know why? Because when it was time for you to say anything, when the time really mattered the most, you didn't say it. You lied to the American people. You stood up there at the podium. You lied to these people over and over and over again. And when it was time for you to really stand up for the American people and tell them the truth, you didn't say it. I am not going to go spend money to buy this book for you to tell me what I already know, right? Or to hear more lies. So yeah, I do see it as a grift. Politicians are some of the griftiest people. People in politics in DC are some of the griftiest people. So it's interesting. Like people will say, oh, independent media people are grifters. No, these are the biggest grifters. These are the biggest grifters who lie to you for 4 years and then wait to put it in a book so they can sell it and make some more money. That's what this is. Everybody want to be, it's easy to say you're independent now, but when it mattered the most, you wouldn't say it. It's just a mess. I can't make this up. The teasing of the book project by the Hatchet imprint stated that Karine will offer her view of the 3 weeks of turmoil following Biden's miserable debate last summer that culminated with him dropping his re-election bid, a result the book's promotional material blames in part on betrayal of the Democratic Party. Karine's former staffers offered withering criticism of what they see as an opportunistic grift. She made a joke about being an independent last year, and now it's a book. All ideas are monetary, even the dumb ones. Caitlin, Democratic strategist who worked for the Commerce Department communications shop during the Biden term, also took issue with the book. Kamala Harris and the entire Biden-Harris campaign did heroes work to avoid losing 400 electoral votes and giving Republicans a supermajority in Congress, which is what would have happened if he stayed on the ticket. It's more productive to focus on that and thank Biden for doing the responsible thing by stepping aside than it is to pretend that this was an unwarranted act of betrayal. Yeah. So anyway, Karine Jean-Pierre here is just trying to make money. That's really what this is about. Okay. So, everybody has something to say now. And like I said, when the time really mattered, you lied to people and didn't tell them the truth, right? Nina Turner commented on this on News Nation. Listen to this.
It's your read on her leaving the Democratic Party after being the messenger for it. A genuine exit, or is this for book sales?
It's definitely for book sales, Marky. But, there's nothing unique about what she's doing in this moment. But what is quite stunning is how she went against folks for President Biden, knowing full well that he was not up to the task. I mean, I had to stop myself from laughing when she said we can't keep up with him in that CNN interview when she knew that was not the truth. Listen, I get it as the press secretary for a political figure. You got to carry their water or you have to leave. If she had integrity, knowing what she knew and so many others knew as a Democratic Party top brass lied to the American people and really hurt the faithful of the party, she should have left the job and then wrote the book. She would have had more integrity.
So do you think she's going to lay that out in the book? I mean, do you think any part of the book is going to be an admission of guilt or what she knew, didn't know?
So I will say this. She didn't care about having integrity. She just wants to sell a book. She wanted the kind of little bit of the fame that come with the job. She don't care about having integrity. A lot of times, there are people who are celebrities and there are people who are fame whores. And people who are fame whores, they don't really care about having integrity. You think the Kardashians have integrity? Think about that for an example. So this is something to kind of think, but she don't care. She's trying to make money. Now, here's the thing. Other people are screaming that this book and this announcement from KJP is just going to do more damage to the Democratic Party. Yeah. I mean, this is what happens when you constantly lie to people and people can see what's happening with their own eyes. We all could see that Joe Biden was struggling. We all could see that Joe Biden was not in his right frame of mind. So they're like, oh no, this is going to hurt the Democratic Party. And I'm like, that's kind of for the DNC to fix, right? Isn't that for the Democratic Party to fix? The DNC is a corporation. They know how to fix things if they really wanted to win, but they don't really want to win. That's why they're not really giving you a real working class policies. That's why they're really not trying to do that. That's why they're not trying to. Here's another thing. As many times as that reparations bill has been mentioned in Congress, why did the Democratic Party not really trying to get something going with that? They're not trying to because they don't really intend to help you or do anything for you. They're there to answer to their donors. The amount of corporate money and corporate greed and interest that has been spent in U.S. Congress, it's ridiculous. It continues to increase over the years. So if you go back maybe 30, 40 years, you wouldn't see as much money, much corporate money involved in Congress. Things have changed. It's very different now. So they don't give a damn. They just trying to ride this out for themselves, get their pension and get their own book.
How is she going to portray Biden and her time there?
I doubt it. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, we now know from reports that she was leaking, some of the information and documents to her publicist, which was wrong. So I'm not sure what she's going to do. Mark, I think that the media in particular and the American people in general need to understand that when people like her come out, people like Beto or people like Buttigieg, they're coming out after the fact. When you have people like myself and others, even Congressman Castro, who ran for president, said very clearly that he did not believe that President Biden was up to the task. And that was seems like a lifetime ago. He's been disappeared. And I'm not saying that tongue in cheek, but my major point is people like her and others who coming out now that the Democratic Party has a 27% approval rating, coming out now after the leadership of the party deceived the American people. That is really, really rich.
Yeah. And
that's an important part for people to hear there, because here's the thing. I think Nina has a point there about that. Because like I said, now it's easy to come out and say these things. But many of us have been saying this for years. Biden ain't it. Biden don't have it. Biden is, forgetting people's names. Biden is clearly not together. And we were saying that for 4 years, and we were called all kind of names. I was called right wing, which I'm not. I was called, I'm trying to destroy the Democratic Party, all those things. I'm like, why? Because I'm telling you the truth about Joe Biden. And this is what I mean when I say that it's a cult. You can see an example here. So this is me responding to this crazy person, Say May. Okay. Now, Say May says, Karine Jean-Pierre isn't leaving the Democratic Party over policy. She's leaving because they treated President Biden like shit. If they keep up the Biden bashing, they'll lose even more of us. So hold on, fam. This is why I say it's a cult. Let me get this straight. So what would make you leave the party is them bashing Joe Biden, not their weak ass economic policies, not having a working class agenda for low income people. They keep saying middle class. There's no middle class in this country. Not having that, not actually helping the American people, all those things. I don't know. Starting a genocide, that doesn't make you leave the party, but criticizing Joe Biden makes you leave the party. This is why I call it a cult. It's a cult of personality. They can't do anything wrong because that's our person and that's done. It's really sad. It's really sad. But these people are fucking brainwashed. Now, here's one of those moments where two things can be true at the same time. Yeah, Karine Jean-Pierre is an opportunist who's just trying to sell a fucking book. There's that. At the same time, it can also be true that Joe Biden is not above criticism. No politician is above criticism. And if you believe that a politician is above criticism, then I would say you're probably a part of the cult. How we get these people, man? How we get here, man? This is why I say this. So two things can be true at the same time. But this idea that you can't criticize Joe Biden is probably part of the reason why he was able to stay in the race as long as he did in the first damn place. People not wanting to tell him the truth. People not wanting to criticize Joe Biden. He walking around like his shit don't stink. Joe Biden, I remember, is a nasty, nasty person, okay? Okay? Let's stop pretending that Joe Biden is not the same Joe Biden that co-wrote the crime bill. Let's not pretend this ain't the same Joe Biden that was friends with racist ass Strom Thurmond and all those little good Southern boys. Let's stop pretending that this ain't the same person, okay? Let's stop pretending this ain't the same person that has been accused by Tara Reid and she still hasn't had her day in Congress of sexual assault. Let's stop pretending this ain't the same person. But oh no, don't criticize him. Oh my God, no. It's a cult. So Karine, opportunist, Blue MAGA, also a freaking cult. At this point, it's just crazy. I want people to not practice groupthink. I want people to think on their own. And if that makes me a bad person, then God knows. Ay. Craziest week ever. Let's go to the comment on Rockfin and we'll get to the last story. Hey. All right. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. On June 5th, 2016, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo issued an executive order requiring state agencies to divest from organizations and companies that participated in Israel boycotts. Cuomo described BDS as an economic attack on Israel during a speech at Manhattan's Harvard Club, stating, if you boycott against Israel, New York will boycott you. the governor chose to issue an executive order instead of bringing the issue to the state legislature because passing legislation can be a tedious affair, and he wanted to take immediate action against the BDS movement. Under the order, the commissioner of the Office of General Services of New York was commanded to put together a list of businesses and groups involved in the BDS movement based on credible info available to the public. So Andrew Cuomo is a snitch. Let's get to the funny story. We have one more story for you tonight, guys, and this is funny. This shit cracked me up. I'm sorry. So let's get ready to laugh. It appears that the honeymoon or the bromance between Elon Musk and Donald Trump is over. It has ended like that, bud. And it's all about this bill. This is where it all starts. Musk says that Trump would have lost the 2024 election without him as big, beautiful bill feud continues. So, and I'm telling you, I know all of you are not on X, so you may not have seen this yet, but it just, it's too much. It's too much. Okay, so bam, first blow. Elon Musk says, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude, Musk wrote in a post responding to Trump's remarks about him. Now, where is this coming from, folks? Okay, Trump's big, beautiful bill, Elon Musk is against it. I mean, if you're Elon Musk, you kind of look foolish because you started this organization called Doge and you were supposed to slash money. You guys were supposed to save money, right? Cut waste. Then it's championed by Donald Trump and he approves of it. And then right after that, he decides to release this bill that is calling for a lot more government spending. Now, we can get into a conversation another time, and we will next week because Steve will be here to talk about how the deficit isn't even real and what modern monetary theory tells you about the deficit. It's just not even real. This whole debt ceiling thing isn't even real. Sorry. We'll get into that. But at this point, if you're Elon Musk, you look foolish. Excuse me, guys. I have something on my throat. If you're Elon Musk, you look foolish at this point. Because if you're telling people we're going to cut waste, but Donald Trump says, no, we're going to spend some more money, you kind of look like a fool. That's what starts all this. So Elon Musk put out a call that basically said, don't pass the bill. He was trying to tell people in Congress not to pass that bill. Now, Elon Musk is not president of the United States, but he's acting like it. And there's that too. But he didn't want that to pass. Apparently, there's also an issue with the EVs as well, because from what I understand, like there was supposed to be some agreement between Trump and Elon Musk about electric vehicles as well. It's a mess right now, but they're not happy with each other and they are taking serious blows. So serious that, and this is wild. Jesus Christ. Elon is now hitting below the belt. Check this out. Elon says Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. And here's that tweet here from Elon Musk. Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, Donald Trump. Oh my God. I just, I don't know, man. This is wild. Under says, I always knew Trump was in the files. Like Elon is dropping like bombs, right? So it's it's not funny to be in the files, but it's funny that Elon is just like, you know, fuck it. If I'm going down, I'm taking everybody down with me, basically. So there's been this back and forth between both of them, rather on Twitter or Truth Social. And you can even see that here. Here's Elon Musk again. Look at the emoji. This is more Epstein stuff. So he's retweeting this tweet here. In 1992, Trump partied with Jeffrey Epstein. Just going to leave this here. So this is what I'm saying. Watch this.
Of a Mar-a-Lago party shows Trump giving Epstein his personal attention. The footage, shot in November of 1992, before Trump opened the resort as a club, shows the future president surrounded by cheerleaders for the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, capturing.
I just have to mute it because of the music part right there. But then I think it goes into...
Trump is surrounded by women as music blares in the background. After a while, Trump goes to greet 3 new guests, among them the financier Jeffrey Epstein. Come on in, go inside. More than a decade before his guilty plea on state prostitution charges. Later in the footage, Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein and the other man and telling Epstein about the cameras. Though exactly what they say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances, Trump gestures to one and appears to say to Epstein, "Look at her back there. She's hot."
So this is the video that Elon Musk is sharing. Right? So didn't we tell you guys? Didn't we tell you that Donald Trump can cut ties with people when he wants to? He did this before during his first administration. And it seems like he's cutting these ties from Elon Musk now. Wait till you see the rest of this. It's pretty like wild. This just in here. It says, this is Donald Trump. This was from Truth Social. Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do. And he just went crazy. So there's that. So you see this part, the EV mandate, apparently that was some part that Elon Musk wanted. But I just, then it by the way, this is the second person within about a week and a half that Donald Trump said went crazy. Last week, he said Vladimir Putin went crazy. Now he's saying Elon Musk went crazy. So just something to pay attention to here. And here he is here talking about this on Fox News. Check this out.
But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate, because that's billions and billions of dollars, and it really is unfair. We want to have cars of all types. Electric, we want to have electric, but we want to have a gasoline, combustion. We want to have different. We want to have hybrids. We want to have we want to be able to sell everything. And when that was cut, and Congress wanted to cut it, he became a little bit different, and I can understand that. But he knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody, and he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape. He said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Look at the look on his face. Hold up. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Watch this.
Elon a lot.
funny. Okay, and that's not the end of it because it gets even crazier, right? Like from there, Elon Musk responded to that video and he said, false. This bill was never shown to me even once and was passed in the dead of the night so fast that almost no one in Congress could even read it. So Elon Musk is denying that that's true. He's denying that he knew about the EV mandate prior to that bill. So again, a lot of back and forth. It's basically two billionaires fighting with each other. But this is where things get really messy, right? Because then they get into an argument about money. Money, 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 money. And I did check Truth Social just to make sure these were legit posts, and these are. Donald Trump posted this on Truth Social. The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. So now Donald Trump is threatening Elon Musk in this way, right? He's threatening to cancel his government subsidies and his contracts. I mean, it's interesting for someone who talks about our country has so much waste and we need to cut the waste. Notice he didn't cut any of his waste, right? Notice he didn't say, hey, why don't you just take away my government contracts and subsidies? Think about this for a second. Of course, not going to cut something that belongs to him. So this is really interesting. I'm like, oh my God, is this like the movie Grumpy Old Men? Well, he responded to that as well. In light of President's statement about cancellation of my government contracts, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. So it's just, and you guys know, like when Elon tweets stuff, and then this is the funny part. Someone posted, they said, Grok, create an image of Elon riding a dragon while begging for money. And then I can't. This is just too much. Oh my God. But I wonder, like, let's see what he said now. Because he going through some things. Check this one out. Look what he posted 8 hours ago. Is it time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle? So now he went from that to let's try to create a new political party. This guy's all over the place. Yeah. It's like, hey, Elon, how about you just step back from politics? How about that? How about you just do that? We don't need you to create nothing else. Okay? No more parties, no more doji, nothing. Just step away. Go fix the Tesla first. Okay? How about you help and actually allow Tesla employees to unionize? Go work on that. None of this other stuff, right? None of this other stuff. But anyway, we already have that. That's called the Forward Party. Andrew Yang already created that, the Forward Party. Why is Elon Musk acting like this doesn't exist? Let's see if he said anything else. Because he been on it. Like, he is really like, wow, he retweeted this. Ex-active users, Elon does ketamine, Trump on Epstein list. Like this, wow. Guys, I really don't know what to tell you. But it's just JD Vance says, slow news day. What are we even going to talk about? And I guess that's JD Vance sitting next to Theo Vaughn. So Elon Musk is laughing at him now. Yeah. So I guess one thing we see is that Elon will turn. He can turn at the drop of a dime. Look what he's saying now about the tariffs. The Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of the year. I mean, it's just, guys, I don't know. That was the funniest story this week, I think. It's pretty hilarious. That, like, yeah. Matt said, glad I'm not on X. I know, for a second I was like, they're going back and forth like this. I'm like, this is so unprofessional. But welcome to America 2025. Let's get the poll because I want to see what the votes were. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Thank you guys so much for voting on the poll. Do you think Andrew Cuomo will lose the NYC race? So this is important to see, folks. 40% said yes. 29% said it's possible. 14% said no. And 17% said, I'm not sure. So the majority of people that voted said that Andrew Cuomo will lose the New York City race. Interesting. Well, we'll have to wait and see, folks. We will have to wait and see. That is it for me. Let me go to the comments. I think we have a couple more. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. They won't come to our neighborhoods, but will gladly go to Israel on a taxpayer dime. And if they do, thinking a bodega is our culture. There it is. Thank you. Where's the love? Ain't nobody buying that Tethering Grifter's book. Girl, buy. We watched her lie every day. Somebody will buy it, though. Watch. Thank you, Courtney. All of this drama because the big, beautiful bill cut government funding for Elon. Hilarious. And thank you for this one, Courtney. Elon is crashing out like a bitter ex-girlfriend who got dumped. I don't know what to say. It's fun. These are funny times. Funny times. All right. That's it for me tonight, guys. Thank you so much for hanging with me. Come back and see me live Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Should be a good time there. And that's it. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And I'll talk to you later. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.